The Benefactor's Garden. In the Yetta Grove, in the garden of the Benefactor of Orphans and the Solitary, Amitabha, whose name means Benefactor of Orphans and the Solitary, was a wealthy elder who lived in the city of Sravasti. He was also known as Sudatta, which means joyous giving. He was a rich man, but he didn't understand the Buddha-dharma. In fact, he had never even heard the Buddha's name. One day, while arranging for his son's marriage, he visited a friend, the wealthy elder Hsuan Hua. That night Hsuan Hua rose and began to decorate his house. Sudatta asked, "You're adorning the house so beautifully, is there to be a celebration? Is your son going to be married?" "No," said Hsuan Hua. "I have invited the Buddha to receive offerings." When Sudatta heard the word Buddha, every hair on his body stood straight up on end. "Who is the Buddha?" he gasped. "The Buddha is the crown prince, son of King Suddhodana. He would have been the king, but he left home to cultivate the way and became a Buddha instead. I have invited him here to receive offerings." Having heard the word Buddha, Sudatta couldn't get back to sleep. Shakyamuni Buddha knew that Sudatta's heart was sincere, and he emitted a light which shone so brightly that Sudatta thought it was dawn, got out of bed, and went out of the city. The city gate was locked, but the Buddha opened it with his spiritual powers. And Sudatta proceeded to the Buddha's dwelling in the bamboo grove. Just as Sudatta arrived, 4 gods descended, circumambulated the Buddha 3 times, and then bowed in order to show Sudatta the proper gestures of respect. Because Sudatta had never seen the Buddha or heard the Dharma, he followed the gods' example, and the Buddha explained the Dharma to him. Sudatta was delighted and said, "Buddha, you have so many followers. You really need a big place to live. I shall prepare one and invite you to live there." "Fine," said the Buddha. Sudatta looked, but he couldn't find the right land. Finally, he saw Prince Yetta's garden. It was big enough, but Prince Yetta refused to sell. "If you want to buy my garden," he laughed, "first cover it with gold coins. That's my price." Sudatta didn't stay to bargain with him. He just said, "Okay," and moved his treasury, piece by piece, to the garden and covered the entire grove. "Now your garden belongs to me," he said to Prince Yetta. "I was only joking," said the prince, annoyed. "I'm keeping it for myself. How could I sell it to you? You told me that you would sell if I covered it with gold. And I took you at your word," Sudatta said. "If you plan to be a king, you really shouldn't joke with people. A king's word must stand." "Very well," said the prince. "You covered the ground with gold, so the park is yours. But you didn't cover the trees. The trees are mine, but I'll give them as a donation." Because the trees belong to Prince Yetta, it is called the Yetta Grove, and because the garden was Sudatta's, it's called the Garden of the Benefactor of Orphans and the Solitary. In China, when Kang Wen established the nation, he assisted 4 kinds of poor people: widows, widowers, orphans, and the childless, or solitary. Sudatta also gave aid to these 4 kinds of people, and so he is known as the Benefactor of Orphans and the Solitary, that is, Amitabha. Together with a gathering of great bishops, 1250 in all. This phrase fulfills the audience requirement. Together means that they studied under the same teacher, lived in the same place, and investigated the Buddha-dharma together. They all had the same Bodhi mind, and had opened the same wisdom, attained the same result, and would together realize Buddhahood. Because they had so much in common, the text reads, "Together." The sutra text first lists the assembly of sound-hearers because they are sages who have transcended the world. The bodhisattvas are listed next because they are sometimes bishops and sometimes laymen. They cultivate the middle way, and so they are listed in the middle. The gods and dragons of the Eightfold Division are listed last because they are in the world and represent the common people. Sometimes the bodhisattvas are present in the Dharma assembly, and sometimes they travel to other worlds. The Bhikshus, on the other hand, were the Buddha's constant followers. They always listened to the sutras and the Dharma, and so they are listed first. Great has three meanings: 1, great; 2, many; and 3, victorious. Bhikshus are respected by kings and great men, and so they are great. They have cut off afflictions and destroyed the many evils. They are different from, and victorious, over all external religions. Bhikshu also has three meanings: 1, seeker of alms food; 2, one who frightens Mara; and 3, destroyer of evil. When one ascends the precept platform to be ordained, one's request for ordination may be granted after 3 appeals. An earthbound Yakaya ghost informs a space-traveling Yakaya, who flies up to inform the heavenly demons. The heavenly demons are terrified and tell Mara, the king of the 6th desire heaven, the Buddha's retinue has increased by 1 and ours has decreased by 1. At this, Mara's palace quakes. Thus a Bhikshu is one who frightens Mara. He also destroys the evils of the 84,000 afflictions because he has resolved his mind on Bodhi.